I'm Suzi Landolfi, and welcome to Be Crazy Well. Now, why would a therapist say that? Because we all have mental health struggles, even therapists. The good news is we have so much more information about how we can be crazy well. On my podcast, we don't focus on what's wrong with us. We want to know what happened to us. We're going to explore how trauma affected us, both negatively and positively. That's right. I said positively. It's called post-traumatic growth, and it's a real thing. Be Crazy Well will share mental health wellness practices, the newest mental health research, and most importantly, how we all get to create the person we deserve to be and the life we deserve to live. So join the mental health evolution and be crazy well. So everybody, welcome to Be Crazy Well. I couldn't think of anybody who's more crazy well than Evelyn Azzaria. And I'll let her tell you, I can't talk a lot. So the good news is they don't want to hear from me anyway, Evelyn. They want to hear from you. So I'll just tell you that I had the honor of, I'm learning all the time about the military because, I'm one of those irritating civilians. I say that with due love and respect because civilians irritate me too. So that's why I like hanging out with you guys. So I'm at Boulder Crest at Warrior Path, and we get a conversation going about SWAN, which stands for, do you remember what that stands for? Service
I
Women.
do not. I know something, Women Access Network or something like
Women
that.
Active something. Everybody look it up, okay? I'm so sorry, SWAN. We'll put it in the bio. Anyway, they were telling us about CST. And I'm going, CST? Is that a new drink? What is CST? And little did I know about the super women, the wonder women of the military called CST. So the first thing I want you to do, Evelyn, is explain to everybody, since you are one, I don't need someone who hasn't been there, done that, explaining what you do and who you are. But I want everybody to know that maybe don't know, because it's not just military to listen to this, what CST stands for, who you are, and what you do.
The CSTs, it's a cultural support team, and who we were to help and support the United States. Can you hear me now, Suzi?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm going to have to talk a little slower. I think my connection is not that great here.
Okay.
But it was a cultural support team. And who we were, were women of all walks of the Army who volunteered to support the Special Operations Command, right? USASOC. What it was is we were employed as women to attain information from the Afghan population that was not being attained by our special operations operators, right? There was a big divide in the Afghan culture where men were not able to directly talk with women or children for that matter. And the Special Operations Command realized that there was a lot of information that was being missed on the battlefield, right? So that is when they opened up the CST program, which I think ran for quite a few years. I was part of CST4, and really what it was two different mission sets. One was a DA, the Direct Action mission set, that was with Joint Special Operations Command, and for a few of us also with the Commando mission with the SEAL team that wasn't directly part of JSOC. And then the other side of the program was a VSO, that was a Village Stability Operations, where a team was embedded in a village out in the middle of nowhere, and again needed to create and establish those relationships with the Afghan population, and really just to make it successful, right? We attained information. Some women served as medical professionals that weren't medical professionals. Others, really capitalized on their military occupational skill, their MOS, and employed that to the max.
So you were on the combat field, though. You mean you were in direct harm, many of you. Is that correct?
Correct. We were all in direct combat operations, you can say. So yes. And we were going out on mission.
Go ahead, keep going.
Oh, we were all of us, right? I was very fortunate that my CS team team member and I, Tatiana Blanc, we were able to do both mission sets. We were able to do the DA mission set with the commandos in SEAL Team 5, and then we were also on the VSO side with 7th Group. So we were able really to experience both mission sets that not many CSTs got to do.
Right.
And yes, we went out on missions, whether they were, we were chasing an HVI, looking for something specific. We'd be on target after majority of the time after the operators went in. We would tactically question the women and children. We would search them. And then we weren't doing DA, we were doing the VSO side where it was more like, we wanted to gain the acceptance and create and establish a relationship with the Afghan populace.
So you volunteered for this, first of all, and then you went through training.
Yes.
And you went out and were put in teams of 2?
Correct.
So I'm just sitting there going, why the hell would you volunteer for that? Like, and then I realized, oh my God, these are the women that we've been keeping out of the military and out of the battlefield for hundreds of years that we have missed out on. So first of all, that's the most amazing part of this, is that when men for so long said women don't belong on the battlefield, and then all of a sudden go, whoa, wait a minute, they could save our lives, save the mission, help make the mission more successful. I mean, that's what you did, Evelyn.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I guess sometimes I don't think about it that way.
Well, of course you don't.
My humility.
That's right. I was going to say, of course you don't. That's why you need people like me to tell you this. Like it's amazing for us to be on this side and for me to learn all this and to hang out with you, to go through the retreat with so many of you. And we're sitting there with our mouths open, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And then to not, so few people know about this.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? It's incredible how few people know about this. And the importance of what you did as volunteers. Like first you volunteer to join a military, which is pretty much all male. So you're already going to deal with that. And then you're going to volunteer to go even further and deeper into danger. And also you actually saved women and children in Afghanistan, because when you were there with them, it was safer for them. Is that correct?
That is correct. We also, treated them for various different things. Some young girls didn't even know how to brush their teeth. So it just varied. The amount of impact we had on them varied. My teammate and I, along with the ODA we were supporting, we help treat a lot of casualties, Afghan casualties. So yeah, I mean, I would hope that they felt we made a difference, a positive difference at least.
Evelyn, you're a mother now. You weren't a mother then when I met you. You're a mother.
Correct.
What, now looking back as a non-mother and now a mother, does it hit you even harder what you did? Does it make more of an impact on you?
I think in retrospect, it does, right? It does, because it allows me to understand that my kids are very fortunate, right? To have the upbringing and to live in a country where they have so much freedom, rights, and understanding that not everybody has that, right? And I hope that I could give my kids that gift of understanding that it's not always just about you. It's always something about something much bigger than yourselves. And I think for me, that's what's always driven me in the military. Like, it's not about me. It's not about the positions I've held, the awards, or the, evaluations. For me, it's the impact I make on those soldiers' lives, in people's lives, being an affectionate, charismatic leader that people want to be around, right? Having an impact in those soldiers' lives. Like, for me, I think it means more to me to get a message from a soldier saying, like, thank you so much for all the mentorship you provided and making a difference in my career, than any medal ever will. And for me, I think being deployed then, right, with no kids, I didn't fully grasp that, of like, things can be different for my kids, but I also want to teach them some humility and show them that it's not always just about them.
So speaking of your military
It's
career,
okay to give, but
it is
I've
okay.
learned,
You learned that you can't give something you
yes,
don't
ma'am, but
have.
also learn that there's a limit.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think my children have definitely taught me a lot of patience. They've taught me patience. They've allowed me to really understand that life shifts, right? Shift happens. That was part of a BCR, and part of that is like understanding that it's okay for your life to shift. Everything doesn't have to be a certain way. You adapt, you overcome. And I think part of that that's been instilled in me in the military has someone prepared me, for motherhood, really.
Oh, that well said. And when you talked about your military career, can you tell us a little bit about that? How old were you and when did you volunteer, sign up, and where are you now?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, in South Central LA. A city plagued with crime, drugs, violence. And I joined at 18, and I joined because my parents couldn't afford college for me as a first generation Mexican American. My I couldn't. I was a very good student in high school. I graduated with 3.8 GPA, but just I wasn't afforded the opportunity to join college, to do college, excuse me. So I was also in the LAPD program that I had been doing maybe for like 3 years. It's a community program, and I thought to myself, well, I can't go to school, so I'll join the military for 3 years, and I'll come back out and be a police officer and join the LAPD, right? Because that was my other drive, wanting to give back to my community. And then I found that my drive was really giving back to my country. I have now served 20 years,
Oh,
and what started as a journey of I'm only going to do 3 years has turned into 20 years. And I'm hoping to do a couple more and retire soon and focus on my family, provide more time and manage my time more accurately for my children.
so you're what rank now?
I am an E9, that is a Sergeant Major.
I
That is the highest enlisted rank you can achieve, not the highest position, but the highest enlisted rank you can achieve in the military.
And having met you and lived with you for a week at that retreat at Boulder Crest called Warrior Path, and you're right, we always said shift happens. We used to say first shit happens, then shift happens. That's usually the way that it goes. Most people don't shift before the shit happens. And I just want to tell you that it made a big impression on me, Evelyn, you specifically, and the other women of the CST program. And you've changed me. And the fact that you are now a mother and still doing this, it just breaks every myth and misconception about women in the military. It
No,
does.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And it is not easy, Susie. I will tell you, it's not an easy task, right? Because I think male leaders have that support at home, right? Their wives take care of their kids. And for us military women, mothers in the military, like we don't have that option. I don't have a stay-at-home dad, right? That's not something society sees as a norm. So it's even harder. First, you're a female in the military, so you have to work twice as hard.
Mhm.
Two, on top of ends, it's like I get off, I take this uniform off, and I go straight into being a mother. Like my role never stops.
Right.
And I think, again, this is Eve speaking, not the army. I think that's why women make better leaders, in my opinion. Majority of us understand emotional intelligence, have emotional intelligence, right? Have humility, empathy, can balance so many different things. Not knocking men in the military, not at all whatsoever. I have some amazing mentors and leaders, but I think women don't get the credit we deserve.
Oh, I agree. Tell me some of the most difficult moments. I think you just mentioned one, which is balance, like being that mom and not having the support at home. Although I'm sure there's some men that are saying it, even some women, women who love women and married to women, there's some, and there's and the same from men to men. Tell me though, what is it that you've learned to be able to do well in these 20 years?
I would say humility is big, empathy, right? And then just really just be yourself. A lot of times being in the military, people tend to be around a certain culture and they become that culture. Like, don't be afraid to be different. You don't have to fit in, right? Don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to hold people to the standard, right? And stick to your standard, right? But also understanding that, like, just because you're a direct or hold people accountable, right? Like, that doesn't mean you can't show empathy or humility in other aspects. But I don't know. It's very hard. I 20 years is very hard to wrap up and like my lessons learned, because I think I've learned every day teaches me something new, right? Not just from the positions that I've held, but more or less from the soldiers. Soldiers teach me something different every day. Um, and I don't, it just has been an amazing journey for me. And I think when it is time to hang up my uniform, it's going to be a little difficult, but yeah, there's just so many lessons learned, and it it is difficult being a female in the military, right? And I think a lot of it rides on your reputation, right? The reputation you create for yourself will dictate how people perceive you and what positions you can potentially attain. Not all the time, right?
Mhm.
And I think for us too, like, I think women forget, like, when people see me misbehave, they don't see just me as an individual. They see it as all women, unfortunately, right? So we have
Yeah.
to remember that we're not just representing ourselves, but we're representing the minority of women, within the military, because we are a minority group, all the women in the military.
Boy, that is so important to remember, especially in all aspects of life when you are one of the few, because you're
Correct.
right. People are going to make big assumptions um, on small information. And that does affect all the people coming in. Now that you're Sergeant Major, what would you ask of the military? What are some of the suggestions and solutions you could give to the military?
As a female, I mean, I think we've done a good job. I think the Army has done a good job in progressing, with diversion, equity, and inclusion. Obviously, they've opened all the combat arms, MOSs, Ranger School, you know, um, selection, to be a Green Beret. Well, not only Green Beret, but I think it's opened up for all special
Mhm.
operations, MOSs. But I think we've come a long way. The one thing I have felt, and again, this is just Eve, I have felt that has lacked in the military, specifically as women, has been mentorship. Either there's not enough women leaders to mentor you, or two, none of the male leaders want to mentor you because of the perception, right? Of like, oh, well, I'm mentoring this female. People are going to think we have a different type of relationship, when that necessarily isn't the case. Like, I've been thankful that I've gotten to the point where, like, I have good senior leaders, mentors, but it's taken me until I was an E8. Like, that was never provided for me as a young female soldier, a young NCO, right? And I think that's something the military in general, not just for women, but everyone in general, we can do a better job at, as mentoring.
Well, it's such a waste of talent. It seems a missed opportunity. Like, why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you understand what women bring and to mentor them even more, women to women? And I want to say something. That's not something we actually do even well in the civilian world. Women are
Mm,
brought up to compete with each other for male attention.
correct,
That's just a
correct,
fact. And
correct.
until we decide not to do that anymore, until we say no to that brainwashing and that training, so that I can look at you as my sister, say, I'm not competing with you for anything, especially male attention. I'm going to be here as your sister and your support. That's my first job. That's my first important job, because I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be part of that. And so I think what you're saying is so important, just in the world in general.
No, yes, absolutely. And I think you honed in on it, right? Like women are brought up in society to compete with each other. And instead it's like, well, let me extend my hand and help you get to where I'm at.
Yeah,
Right. Hey, have you thought about these opportunities? And that's why for me, like I am such a big advocate for helping other women. And but not just women. Most of my soldiers will tell you I will help anyone that needs the help,
yeah.
right? Male or female. But I do make it a point to really have like a more overarching mentorship for women.
So, Eve, I'm clinical director of an organization I was talking to you about called Merging Vets and Players. By the way, everybody, I know I sound like Mr. Landolfi right now. It's only because I have a cold, and I'm actually proud of this deep Kevin Costner voice. I could go to Yellowstone tomorrow. All right. So,
Great show, by the way.
yeah, great. So, you're going to take the uniform off, you're going to hang it up in your closet. And Merging Vets and Players is an organization to help military and professional athletes when that uniform comes off. And so, my question to you is, what have you already started to do to start your transition? And what are some of your passion, purpose, and mission when you do take that uniform off? How are you going to achieve it?
So what have I done to prepare? So I have financially set myself up where I have pretty much have paid off all my debt. I purchased a home, but I plan to use that as a long-term investment. So yes, financial counseling is important, not just if you're in the military. I think that's one thing we can probably do better in, in our society is like teach better finances to make people successful, right? So I started doing that. I have been reaching out to different people to really help me figure out what it is I want to do post-military. I don't know that I want to do something, with government work. I know that I love to help people and I want to give back because that is, what I feel like my calling has always been. I'm a giver. I love to help people. I love to see people succeed. And I have thought about maybe helping children with behavioral problems, right? So I've thought about potentially doing my master's degree when I get out in applied behavioral analysis. And I was going to use that year to, when I retire, to focus on my master's degree because I feel like I don't feel I can manage school, kids, and work, right? Especially at an intense master's program. So really, I've been reaching out to people who have already conducted that transition, right? I've kind of pinged them so that they can educate me on things that worked for them, what didn't work for them, because I know my transition is going to be different than theirs, right? My family dynamics are different, my financials may be different. So really what I have been doing is just networking to prepare, right? And
Oh,
then that network includes
keep going.
includes people who can help me identify what it is this next chapter of my life is going to hold, right? I have given the army 20 by the time I retired, 20 plus years, and I think I have another 40, 50 years to reinvent myself and find a new passion. I just don't know what it is yet, and it's okay not to know. It might just fall in my lap.
That's very true. And I've done a million things. I was talking with somebody today, and I thought when I was a little girl and I heard, oh, you work one place for 40 years and then you get a watch. It was gold, and I don't even like gold. I wear silver, and I'm like, oh, that's not going to work for me. That is just not going to work for me. I want to do many things, right? So you're speaking my language right now. I also want to say, is there something you want to do that's fun? I know you're
So
very
yes, I want to own some property and I want to help rescue animals.
Whoa, what? What?
I know it's gonna come as a surprise to you, Susie, but I think that I don't know that I want to do that full time yet, but I have been volunteering at a shelter. Well, no, it's not a shelter. It's a rescue sanctuary here. It's a farm in North Carolina, and the owners have been extremely open, right? And they allowed me to take my kids, and my kids, help feed the animals. And they rescue the animals and then, bring them back to health and then find them a new home. And I think that's something I would like to do. Because much again, right? Like I think I found myself needing rescue at some point
That's right.
in my life before I
Rescue
went to BCR. I think that was part of it. So I think I think for me, I needed rescuing too, right? I just didn't see it. And I constantly go back and, obviously I do my wellness checks, mental health checks. And I'm still processing some stuff, but that's okay. Everyone processes things in their own time. But yeah, there's a lot I want to do. I just need to find the time, and I think retirement is going to allow me that time. To
Right. It'll allow
either
you time,
focus
but you
on a
have to
small
take
little
it.
farm.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you have to take, that's the funny part about us, is that sometimes life says allows it, but we're still on the go and we don't take that time. You deserve that. Hey, Evelyn, can you put on the light in your car in
Oh,
front of
yes, ma'am. I
yeah,
dark.
I
Yeah.
wanna see your face. It's getting dark and I can't see you very, so just put those lights on for a second. So everyone, oh, there you are. Much better, much better. So
Let me see if
I know someone who could mentor you, by the way, in terms of a nonprofit rescue. I know someone personally that can do that for you because I've done it. That sounds like a great idea. And it can be a side hustle. It can be the side passion. We call it a side hustle, which means we're going and doing it to work, make money. But why isn't a side passion just as important? Right? Why doesn't, why,
absolutely.
yeah, that invests in your soul and your life and all of that. So, so I know you're in California right now, down in San Diego. Is that where you are? Oh, you got my cough.
Sorry. No,
Came right through.
I'm in Washington State right now.
Oh, Washington State. Okay, so you're at least on the West Coast. All right. And when do you go back? Because you're East Coast.
I will fly back on Saturday. Sorry, I don't know what
Hey,
happened. I think
listen,
something
I'm so
happened.
at my age, I'm so uncoordinated. I can actually choke on my own spit. Like that's happened. What are you choking on? I go, just my own spit. It's just an old thing. It just happens.
No,
Listen,
yeah, so I'll fly back on Saturday. So I came to do a command visit out here at Washington. So yeah, it's been good.
oh wow, that's great. All right, and tell us, you got two girls,
Oh no, I have a boy and a girl.
boy and a girl. I wasn't
My
sure.
daughter is the oldest. She's 4, and then my son is 2. He's a big mama's boy, and they
Good.
have been the biggest blessing, joy in my life.
They're amazing. I mean, they really are, and they are our best teachers. And they can irritate the shit out of us some moments, but but that also is
Thank
a
you for
blessing.
keeping it real, Susie.
Yeah, it's a blessing. Even that irritation's a blessing, right? So, Evelyn, I can't thank you enough. Here's what I need from you. Make sure you send me a bio and a photo so that when we post this for everybody to hear and to learn about you and CST, and I'm going to invite the other sisters of CST, all the ones that I
Great.
met at Boulder Crest. The other Sergeant Major, you kicked it off. You lead the way. And so make sure you send that to me so I can share with the whole audience. And Evelyn, I can't thank you enough. I'm so honored to call you a friend in my life. And it's funny, you don't have to be older to mentor somebody. Like everybody thinks a mentor has to be older. They don't. They just have to have a wisdom and an experience that you don't have. And Evelyn, you're one of my mentors. How I want you to know that. I've always wanted you to know that.
Thank you so much, Susie. And thank you for allowing me, to share my story in this platform. We don't do it often. And I think that's a fault of our own, right? Sometimes we don't want the attention on us, but I think it's important to share our stories, to inspire other people,
That's
to
right.
share their stories, or inspire other people that, hey, you can be out there, you could be a woman and with a family and still be successful, right? But I also wanted to thank you for helping rescue me. And I really do mean that. Rescuing me from myself, rescuing me from that cycle, right? That we grow into from our families. It's really has allowed me to capitalize in breaking generational cycles and providing a better environment, not only for my children, but for myself. So thank you for that.
You've always deserved it. and it's my honor. You were the easiest rescue I've ever had. Quickest learner. It was great. I said, oh my God, why isn't everybody like this? So I want to thank everybody for sharing their time with Be Crazy Well. That's always a good thing to do. Our theme song, Evelyn, is written by a young man named Calvin Love. And the name of the song is Be Your Best Self. And he gave it to me to use this song. So everybody check Calvin Love out on Spotify and all the other music apps. And I think you'll really appreciate it. He's one of the most positive rappers I've ever met and just an amazing young man. Evelyn, bless you. Bless all the women of the CST. And I'm going to start bringing them on one by one and have a safe flight back to the East Coast. Okay.
Thank you so much, Suzi. I appreciate you.
Bless you. I appreciate you too.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Bye-bye.